Welcome back. If you're here live, I see Tash. It's so beautiful to see you. And if you're listening to this on the replay, welcome. I'm so glad that you didn't let your pattern take you out or your busy schedule, and you are here. So, where do we begin in this whole idea that we are not our patterns and that all of this has just been here to protect us? Yesterday, you learned that the pattern isn't the problem. The pattern is the solution that's kept you alive. And more than that, you felt where she lived, because knowing it and living into this is where we can make the difference in creating a life that's larger than the familiarity and the safety that our nervous system wants to keep us in. And the uncertainty is always going to be there. So today we're going to find out what she's been protecting so that we can thank her. And last night I gave you one assignment, and that was to just catch your pattern in the wild. So did you find her? And what did she have to say to you? And not from a why, but just from a place of, that's so interesting. There you are. And how it felt for you to just notice without going into the judgment or the shoulding of, I shouldn't be doing this, or trying to push her away, because we know that whatever we're resisting is what creates the struggle, and what we resist persists, because we're attracting energetically the very thing that we want, because the head is focused on, I don't want that thing, and then all we see is more of that thing. So I'm curious to know, in the chat, what did she have to say to you, and where did you feel it in your belly? And, was it in your belly, or was it in your shoulders, or where did she come from? And were you surprised by what she had to tell you, in that moment? And I know this is just a beautiful, close group today. So either you could unmute yourself and let me know, or if you want to share in the chat, if you prefer to do that, that's also fine. But I just love that we're seeing each other, and we're co-regulating, and our mirror neurons are saying we're okay here. Our patterns can come up, and we're not going to judge them. We're just going to let them be there, but no longer running our show. So if anyone wants to share, or if you prefer, just type it in the chat.
I don't think I had much of a pattern moment. I mean, I had a really nice chilled evening after we spoke, and then today I just had a client and then went out with my kids, and then we had we're spoiling ourselves today. We're not going on holiday, so it was like we're just gonna have a really nice lunch. And I
Beautiful.
actually felt like I walked a really gentle path today. It didn't feel too just I felt really elated and happy. So
Beautiful.
um, yeah,
That's so
maybe.
beautiful. Yeah. Because she doesn't have to. I think what's important, and I love what you shared, because a lot of times we think that we have to be in a place of resistance for the pattern to arrive. And oftentimes it's the opposite of that too. So just noticing too, can I be, like you said, can I be in the flow of being with my children? Can I just enjoy this moment, and not going into that place of making yourself wrong for taking time for pleasure, or to not be working all the time? It is a beautiful place. So it sounds like you're doing a great job at being in the driver's seat of your life rather than your patterns. So thank you, Tash.
Well, for today it was anyway.
Yeah, and also, that coming back to that question, can I be okay with that today was a great day? And then being able to have gratitude for that without looking for something, because we're such great problem solvers anyway. And we're always creating problems because we know how to solve them. And I think that's part of the pattern, regardless of where you fall on the scale of fight, flight, or freeze, or the functional freeze is a pattern that I think a lot of high achievers, women like us, can relate to too, where all the patterns are kind of pushing the one into the other. For me, my pattern's always been the pushy, the bully. the shoulda, always an overdrive, because my dad used to say, if you're not number one, you're nothing. So in order to get his love, it always had to be overachievement. So when she would come up in my life, it's a beautiful place to be when she's driving you in the direction that you want, but it's not really sustainable to keep that up. So we burn out a lot, or we get sick, or I know a lot of you are into sort of the metaphysical part of how the body expresses for us. And I used to break things all the time, break arms, feet, all of that. And only later did I realize that that was my body trying to stop me from over pushing and over driving all the time. But when she would come up, then the secondary pattern for me was the head tripper, So in order to avoid pushing and working and over driving and over preparing, my head tripper would come in and say, "Okay, I'm taking control," and then she'd prepare and prepare and prepare and was never ready. And of course, because my worth was connected to my achievement, then the shame would set in because I wasn't getting things done the way that I used to do things, and then the cycle would perpetuate. And then, of course, the dreamer would come in, which is that functional freeze part of saying, I'm just gonna shut down. I'm just gonna go numb. I don't care, because that part is so tired that the not caring is the way that we get out of regulation, to just shut down. And this is where it's like you feel numb, and I didn't know where my joy was anymore, and I didn't even know what I wanted, let alone what I was doing, because that part was running the show. So it's a vicious cycle, and I think we move through them often. And the whole purpose of us talking and sharing and trying to feel this in the body, my desire for you is to just that we spend less time in the pattern, that when we can catch it, we can say, "Oh, there you are, thank you for showing up, and I got this. You're safe. You don't have to take the lead." So the cycle just becomes shorter. The patterns are never going to go away, because it's part of our nervous system, it's part of our physiology, and life's always going to bring us stuff to work on. But I think catching yourself in that moment, when also, I love what you said, Tash, that you actually had a beautiful day, is that your head tripper or your pusher didn't show up and say, "Who do you think you are? You can't do this. You've got work to do." And then you start shooting yourself. So even if she did show up for a little while, the fact that she got to relax and enjoy your day is where we're trying to get to. So more of the rest and digest state, and less of this hyper arousal, where we're kind of feeling like we have to either run for our lives, or we have to stand and fight, right? Or we go into that fawn or shut down stage. So beautiful. Sorry, that was a lot. Monica, how are you doing?
I love the shares. There was definitely a lot to take in. I was like, oh, but then I love it, so I'm genuinely grateful. I woke up really somehow rested and light and felt amazing. But then there is this pattern, that there is the pusher that ticked all the initial task, and I had a call, which unfortunately brought up some. I think there is a connection with an older part. I picked it up during the call, and I realized that there was so and during the call, probably because it didn't go as I wanted, I would have loved, and it stirred something. So I got really emotional and somehow sad and upset. But I picked up the part, the pattern, let's say, and the connection. So I was like, oh, and I realized I almost collapsed my
Mm,
entire I can call it the word, or it's so much more complex. I'm aware of the language.
Beautiful.
So in a space of a few seconds, I could feel it. I kind of like made space because it became that. So, but then I collapsed. I went into a very old story and went with it. But there was an emotional release, and sometimes I'm really good to suppress that and carry on, yeah. But then I was like, oh, I kind of like relax and embrace the release. I was like, oh. And then there is this tendency to again push through. Came home. There was a list of a few other things, and I picked up a voice note from a friend, and I was like, oh. And then she was mirroring back, so I was like, I'm gonna give myself the space to bring some compassion to what I notice and witness, and even the fact that rather than suppressing even the emotion that arises, I held space. So I'm happy to share that there is a little bit, there is awareness, yeah.
Well,
There is
that's
awareness.
so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And again, it's just like when we can be aware of what's running from the past in the hurt, or we can become more compassionate with that part of us that is in internal protest, that's just saying, oh, I just want you to hold me right now. I don't need you to do anything. Just hold me. Just allow me to move this through my body, the grief or the anger or whatever it is. So beautiful.
But I'm so if I can take another few seconds, in a space of couple of seconds, from an energetic level of wow, everything went so low. So I was even aware, and I've been playing with the energetics lately and tuning into the resonance. I was like, how do I do this? Because I can't speak for others. It's like, how in a space of literally almost nothing, from this I literally collapsed into a very low frequency. It took me a few couple of hours, and some somatics to be able to raise the energetics a little bit. So,
Beautiful. Yeah, it's quite a ride, isn't it? And I mean, I'm kind of flowing with the energy of where we want to go here today, but you've just brought up something that I'd love to share with you. So if you're willing to play, I want
please.
you to just close your eyes, feel your feet on the floor, what's supporting you. And I want you to think of somebody that you love more than life itself, and just send them love. Love like you can't. Love just overflowing. And I want you to think about that person, and I want you to hate them for something they've done to you in the past that you feel like you will never, ever forget. And now I want you to love them. And now I want you to send hate to them. Now come back to love. Now send hate and love and hate and love for yourself. And you can open your eyes. And I don't know if you noticed in the pacing of that there is very little difference between the energetics of love and hate. It's just an energy. And yet we attach so much meaning to the word based on what somebody said it is for us. So I know that when I first did that little exercise, the quicker that you can bring in love, hate, you start to notice that there's nothing. It just collapses into energetic space of I am everything and I'm nothing. So I don't know if that was your experience, but that's quite a nice one to use, just to come back to your heart, to come back to your center, to know there is only love. And when you're in love, it's like judgment can't exist when you're in love, when you're in that compassionate listening or that witness state. But Yeah, it's very much the meaning that we put on the emotions that we feel when the emotions are just moving. It's just energy in motion, right? It's not us. But yeah, so good tracking on all of you on noticing your patterns. And today what I really wanted to do is to now that we've recognized that the pattern has never been the problem, that you're not confused, that you've caught her in the wild moments, and you starting to understand why she acts out, you'll start to see dozens of sightings of these patterns in other people as well. And then the way that you're relating can come from a place of more love and compassion, because you know it's not the pattern, not them, it's the pattern, it's the 3-year-old. And that you are the safest place that they can express that, because they know they're safe. So I always kind of look at things differently now, when before it was always like, oh, what have I done to upset this person, or why they're so angry with me? When you can actually see it, that this is the pattern, because you recognize the pattern so well in yourself that you can see it in other people, and that you become the safe place for them to regulate through the mirror neurons of your body that you're inhabiting in the space that you're in, that they can come down and know that there's going to be no punishment. Because a lot of times what happens too is, and I don't know if you recognize this one, but my pusher would like test people, because one of the core fears was that if I love you too much, you're going to leave. And it's been so hard to get your love. And this is father, mother, or whatever, generally someone that you really, really cared about, primary caregiver. So when I got into relationships with girlfriends, or I would test them by pushing their buttons, like intentionally trying to see, is this person going to leave me? Because I wanted to be right. I wanted to go, you see, I'm right. Everybody I love leaves. So when you can actually start to see the pattern and the behavior play out, then you can start to see what other people are projecting at you. And I'm sure you know that saying, hurt people hurt people. So we're gathering in a space to go, if I can work on from my insides out, then I get to create a kind of world by showing people what it can be. And that's a beautiful place to live from, isn't it? So today I really want to look more at the behaviors. So why the pattern? And I call her she. I don't know if yours was a he, but my patterns are all sort of she's. So when I speak of that, I talk about her as she. And the question a lot of people that wake up with is, yeah, I see my pattern. I caught her in the wild. So why is she still acting out? Why am I still in the process of getting upset when I know this person's going to do exactly what they're going to do, or that this thing didn't work the way that I wanted it to work out? Because I've done the work. I know the patterns. And I think it's because seeing the pattern is not the problem, right? She's not confused, the pattern. She's employed. She's doing a really, really good job. She's taking care of you. And the behaviors that keep running because your nervous system believes that it's preventing you something bad from happening to you. And we are not attracted to what's good for us. This is the crazy thing about being a human, is we're attracted always to what feels safe and what's familiar. So the nervous system is going to be very reluctant to consider giving you what you want, which is where I see so many women, especially in business and in relationships, right? Because I always say your business is living, and how you create resources should be joyful, but it's never joyful because we always attach meaning to it. So a lot of women that are that are CEOs, you've all accomplished a lot. You know how to create money. We've all been millionaires at some point in our lives. And even if you say, no, I haven't, if you just add up how much money you've ever spent on rent or mortgages, you would have seen you've made millions many times over. So we know how to do things, but every time we try and push outside of our current level of comfort, our nervous system is going to send us an internal protest. And if the primary pattern is the pusher, right, that bully girl, she activates fight mode, right? This is the warrior. This is the chariot card in the tarot. And she's saying to you, you've just got to keep going. You got to push harder. I don't care if we stay up all night, but we've got to do this. And then there's a part of that pattern that actually celebrates the hustle, right? And you hear this a lot. It's in a very patriarchal world that we've lived in, and a lot of men, it's just like, oh, they're never with their families, but they're always celebrating how hard they work and the hustle, and there's a they get a buzz off it, right? They get this dopamine hit because they're in the hustle, and the drive is, they know how to do the grind mentally, and we can get addicted to that adrenaline rush as well. So this is where we create problems that don't exist because we're chasing that next dopamine hit. So if you're a pusher, that's often what happens, right? And we'll push through hunger. And I know I've done this before. It's like I need to get something done, and I haven't eaten, and I haven't taken care of myself, and I haven't got up to go to the toilet because I know I'm gonna have to sit there. And there's a punishment there too. I think we're really good at punishing ourselves, but we're not very good at actually celebrating or giving ourselves the reward. So we're addicted to the misery, in a sense of, if I don't do this, I will inflict pain on myself. So we become our own internal jailer, in a sense, and we take over from the parent that never gave us what we needed, or never loved us the way that we wanted, or anywhere where there was a trauma. We become the one that imposes that on ourselves. So when I was deep in my pusher mode, it was like I became addicted to the work. And I'll never forget, once my daughter was scooting down the road. We'd come to visit my mom in England, and she was scooting across the high street, and I was going off to teach a workshop. And she said to me, you don't care about anybody except your clients and money. And off she went. And she must have been 4 or 5 at the time. And I remember feeling like, wow, have I got so out of touch with being present with my daughter on a holiday that I couldn't give myself permission to go and enjoy the time with my daughter and my mom, that I had to just cram in another workshop to validate that it was okay for me to take 2 weeks off to come and visit my mom in England. So that pusher then triggers that other pattern, right? And then you go in the shame cycle, and then it would come back up again. And I can remember her being there my entire life, because that was what was required in my family. If you didn't achieve, you were nothing. And if you weren't nothing, that meant you didn't, my father didn't see me. There was the love was withdrawn. So there was always pain attached to that. And I used to say, I'm so happy that I swam 8 hours a day in the freezing cold weather before the heated swimming pools, and I went to the World Games, and I competed, at the top of my game in synchronized swimming, and I got all the awards, and I was the champion, and yet I felt so unworthy. And there was so much shame around that, because I still never received the love from my father. So I just carried that over into my work. And I was like, yeah, I'm so glad that I had that discipline of crying, at 5 o'clock in the morning and getting in cold water, because it made me who I am. I wouldn't have achieved everything I've achieved if I hadn't had all of that. So we start to justify the behaviors, because we don't know who we are with it anymore. And that carried me through many iterations in my own life of that cycle of the pushing and the head tripping, and then the dreaming, and then the collapse. And then I'd start all over and over again. So I would build businesses, and I'd make the money, and then everything would collapse and everything would go away. So the cycle was always, you see? It always leaves. It always goes away. And we burn out and we get mystery illnesses and everything else. So even though the rewards were great, there's a lot to lose when you have a lot. It's further to fall. So for me, it was an all or nothing, because that was what my dad said. Either you're number one or you're nothing. So all or nothing. There was no middle ground in that. And that's really exhausting. And that's where the burnout and where we become our own punisher. So give me a one in the chat, or put your hands up if that sounds like you at some stage of your life. And I want you to just consider how how much it's cost you, because you were perhaps too tired to follow through, or you moved through something before it could compound, because you were so busy that you achieved a big milestone and you didn't even give yourself a minute to actually celebrate what you'd done before you were onto the next thing. And how much money have you spent on coaches and courses and skills trying to fix a problem with strategy, when it was actually a pattern that was running? And these are just things that to consider, is that it costs us a lot to let these patterns keep driving us. And I think the truth that changes everything is that our body doesn't protect the past. It protects the present against the possibility of the past repeating itself. So we're either too far in the past or we're too far in the future, but we're never here to actually go, wow, yeah, let me give you a hug, pat myself on the back. You did a really good job. Can you go do something beautiful for yourself? So when you take the pattern assessment, if you haven't already, you'll get a full report on these patterns. And also I go into a lot of depth on how to not just recognize it, but the nuances of what can come up where we start to believe the story that we were telling, right? About, like I was saying with the discipline, or the overworking, the workaholism, and later on life, how that story changes into the escapism of, when I was working, then I could avoid being in the company of my narcissistic husband, because it felt safer working than it did to be in a room with him. So the patterns are always going to shape shift and adapt to whatever environment you're in, to ensure that you always stay safe. But it costs a lot of energy, and in the thinking and the strategizing and the overworking and the head tripping and the thinking and the busy work, that the dreamer, where she's so much is running all the time and chasing bright shiny objects. We've done it for so long that we don't even know that we're doing it. So now that you know what your pattern is and your primary patterns, and how they kind of feed each other, you can see that it's not reacting only on now. It's also making a prediction about what could happen next, based on what it already knows about the pain and the uncertainty and the not feeling safe from your past experiences. So that's the pusher. And then if your system, if your system's constantly pushing, I always kind of picture the warrior going into battle. It's that fight energy. And if you're a head tripper, or you're the overthinker, the one that's trying to control, the controller, she's trying to control everything, trying to figure everything out, to be so far in the future that she has a plan A, a plan B, a C, a D, a E. She's got multiple plans just in case something bad happens, that she's got every exit covered. So the head tripper finds it very hard to delegate, because she believes that nobody can do it as well as her. And if she lets go of that control, then the pain is the shame cycle again. How could I not have seen it? How could I, how it's all the excuses that we make up, because the nervous system is in flight all the time. The belief is, I'm not good enough. So I have to keep proving that I'm good enough. And if I'm not doing it, if I give it to somebody else, then something bad could happen. So she always needs certainty before she takes action. So the thinking becomes very scattered because she's all over the place. When you're constantly hyper vigilant and you're looking for danger all the time, you can't focus on you don't have any clarity, and this prefrontal, the thinking part of the brain, can't come online to actually navigate what needs to be done with the systems and the strategies to get you closer to where you want to go, because it's scattered all over, and it's exhausting. So she never completes anything. She's always preparing because she never feels ready, or she never feels like she has all the pieces yet. So it's another course, and it's another coach, or it's another book, or another whatever, there's so much that she's constantly chasing, and sometimes we think, it's just like she'll call. And maybe you relate to this one too. It's just like I meet a lot of women that are multi-talented, right? And the ADHD diagnosis is often a misdiagnosis. This is just a dysregulated nervous system. It's not ADHD. It's just if you've lived your whole life having to have multiple exit strategies, you don't know where to turn and what to go. Everything is scattered all over the place. It looks like it. So I always think ADHD isn't a real thing. I think it's just a diagnosis for a dysregulated nervous system that actually just needs somewhere safe to put everything down. You can't have clarity when you're running from danger. And then we start beating ourselves up because we never complete. And it sounds like if I decide before I'm certain, I may get it wrong. And if I get it wrong, I'm not safe, or there'll be shame, or there'll be judgment or something, and then I'll be a failure. So getting it wrong, rather than just doing it, what does it say? Done is better than perfect. That horrifies the head tripper, right? That is absolute terror to the head tripper, because she has to get it right. It's like as if her life depends on it, because it does. So she has to really learn that because you're still perfecting all the time, and then you're wondering why you keep buying the courses that you never complete. Or I'm guilty of this one. I don't know if any of you else you relate to this, but you buy the books or you buy a courses, and they sit there and you never get to open them because you're already on to the next idea, and the next thing comes up, and then you beat yourself up. So you can imagine what that costs, not just on an energetic level, but in a monetary term of how much money you may have spent. So if that pattern relates to you, just consider, what it's cost you in time and in your own value and in the money that you've lost, tweaking your website or working on a logo when you actually have something beautiful that you just need to put out in the world, but you're preparing because doing the logo or creating your brand colors is safer than actually being visible. So we don't do what we know we need to do to get us closer to what we want, because it's all so unfamiliar. So it's an exhausting pattern, isn't it? So the third one that we talked about yesterday was the dreamer, right? And that she is in that collapsed state, which can look like freeze or fawn, and it can also look like functional freeze, where you're actually doing everything well. You're getting stuff out, but there's no joy. There's no life in you. You just misdirected. You don't know what you want anymore, and everything is overwhelming. So when you're overwhelmed, then you're easily distracted, and then you avoid doing what you need to do, and we do that by procrastinating, right? We do everything that we know isn't going to help us get any closer to it, and then we'll leave it to 11th hour, and then there's a dopamine hit, right? This thing's been coming for weeks. My older sister is very much like this. she had weeks to prepare, and then 11th hour she'd sit down and she'd create so much stress in her body by talking about this thing that she needed to do. And the more she talked about it, the more she talked herself out of doing it, because it just feels like there's too much energy. It's going to take too much energy out of you. So what the nervous system does is it creates low motivation. So, you say, oh, I just need to motivate myself. I just need to talk myself into this. But it costs your nervous system too much energy to do that. So what it does is it turns down desire. It turns down the reason why you wanted to do it in the first place. Chinese medicine, we talk about the triple heater, right? The fire in the belly. We have a bottom, a middle, and a top burner, all connected to the heart, which is all about joy and receiving, not just giving, but receiving. The heart is open to receiving with those two ventricles. And if one of those fires go out, you can't move the fire through the body. So in that state of collapse, it's your nervous system just going, nah, it's not worth the output. It's costing me too much energy. I'm going to just make you preserve the little energy that you have so that we can stay alive, right? So it's like a bear that goes into hibernation and sleep, but your nervous system is just doing the best it can. The pattern is the drive. It's the trigger that on the amygdala that just says, nah, we're not doing this. I'm going to switch you off. We're going into hibernation, and you feel numb inside. And then you'll say, oh, I just don't have the motivation. I'm weak. I'm pathetic. What's wrong with me? And then we go into that shame cycle again, because the thing you wanted so badly doesn't feel exciting anymore. And again, this can also sound like ADHD, can't it? Because it is a dysregulation. All of these are dysregulated, right? All of these are out of balance. So the multi-passionate, the multi-talented can fit into that too, where your attention starts to get scattered into many things and nothing gets traction because you are onto the next bright, shiny object. So it's like, if I land in this reality, the difference with the dreamer is that her belief is that if I come down to earth, if I stop being out there in La La Land where everything's beautiful and I can hear the birds and I'm meditating and I'm writing on, it's far more energy preserving to stay out of the body than it is to be in the body for the dreamer. So the difference with her is that she would rather stay out there than do the thing, because the fear is that I may be disappointed. If I don't disappoint myself, if I don't let myself down, the danger is I'll let somebody else down. The disappointment isn't safe. And the cycle then becomes, I'll get excited, then I'll get overwhelmed, then I'll collapse, then I'll go into the shame, and then I'll gather all my energy up again and I'll start all over again. So we're good starters when we're in the dreamer is in the primary position of protection. We're great at starting, but we never complete. And this is where, when everything is in working together, head, heart, hara, which we'll talk about more tomorrow, when all of you is working for you, then the internal team can then ask what the external team needs to look like in your workplace, in your family dynamics, in any matrix of people gathering for the greater good of all. If you have got the internal state of I'm complete, I'm grounded, I know who I am, I know what lights me up in my belly, I know what matters and moves me, I get to move other people through the movement of that, which is why it's so important that we start moving, and why we've done so much of the feeling yesterday. And I'm not sure if you saw your email yesterday with the replay. My pusher made me stay awake till 2 o'clock last night to make sure I got the recording to you. He took over. And there's two of those, the two somatic exercises that we did. There's short clips on there of just those exercises of orienting yourself to the room to create safety. And what was the other one that we did? I can't even remember now. Oh, the tense and release. Yeah, the tense and release. So both of those are there for you as well in your letter. So yeah, I mean, there are times when these patterns definitely help us to get closer to what we want. We just don't want to stay there, right? Just like there's going to be times when we're hyper aroused, but we need to come back to base, right? We need to be able to downregulate the excitation so that the body can restore through rest and digest, and then we get to move again. So we're talking about this in a place of imbalance, right? We're not saying that we want to get rid of the patterns because they kept us safe and they are useful, but they're only useful when, like I reminded you yesterday, give them a job. You are the CEO. You tell them the patterns, what you want them to do. Don't let them run what they think you should be doing. And then things start to get a lot easier. Gosh, so I've been talking for a while now. I just want to check in with you and see if there were any questions or if we're all up to speed and if this is making more sense to you before we carry on. All good? Okay. So again, I want you to, we're going to just play with a little exercise and then I'll open it up for Q&A. But I want you to just think about the last time that you started something. Perhaps you just started to grow in your business, or you just scaled up to another level in, maybe you bought a new house, or you built a new house, or something big that happened. And then you collapsed when it started to feel like you couldn't sustain it. And a lot of times this happens with money, especially, around the energy expenditure with women. It's just like, do I really want a bigger house? Because a bigger house means more more to take care of, right? More staff, more of everything. I remember when my factory kind of organically grew from me being one person to having 35 employers. And I went into that place of forgetting what my joy was, because this beautiful creative business that I'd started as a one-man show turned into this massive manufacturing monster with retail outlets. And yes, I was making 7 figures, but I didn't have any joy. And there was so much to take care of in the business. So the collapse was the end of the business, because then the business collapsed. So we'll always try and find a way to get out of it, right? Even if we think it's unconscious. And I know, I can't remember who was talking about this yesterday, but when we're retrenched or we lose something, and a different way of looking at it is saying, how brilliant was I that I created this on an energetic level to move this person or this obstacle, because I really didn't enjoy my job and I knew it was time to be leaving, or I knew I needed to expand. And we pull ourselves back into it because it feels safe and familiar. So I want you to think about that time when perhaps you were just about to expand into something that you wanted, and it was growing, and then you pulled back or you collapsed. And maybe it was a program or a course or something that you committed to doing, an art class or singing lessons or something beautiful. And before you got to even start to see the benefits, whether that was pleasure or scale or more money or deeper relationships, you ghosted your coach, or you found a very imaginative way not to give that to you anymore. So just think about what it's cost you in time or revenue or growth every time you've done that in your life. And you can go deeper on that on your own. But for now, I just want you to recall a time, right? If it was, and it would probably be painful on some level. So if it doesn't come, beautiful, you've worked through it already. But just think of a time when you're like, I did that thing again. And when you just feel what that feels like in your body before the thought about what happened. Because once you can hear the prediction, the because, the reason, the justification, the behavior will start to make perfect sense. Because it's always made sense. You just couldn't hear it because that pattern was running. And now that you've noticed how your body feels, when you recall that, what do you need? What does that part need from you to know that it wasn't failure, that it turned out exactly how it needed to? And up until now, you didn't know what you know. You did the best you could with what you had. Your system was just running a weather warning about a storm coming. And it keeps checking to see the sky is falling, or the sky is falling, the flood is coming. You could get hit by lightning. Better buckle up. Stay small, contract. Hold on tightly. But just because that forecast was right once, you don't need to keep trusting it now. So whatever that prediction was, the because, what the worst thing could happen if you let go of the control, or you stop pushing yourself to burnout, or if you got your head out of the clouds and you actually stayed in your beautiful body and gave yourself a beautiful massage, what would stop you from doing that? What does that part, that pattern say to you? And also just notice what's going on in your body when you connect with that. And I want you to invite you for whatever you wrote down or whatever came up for you there, of something you didn't complete, or something that you like, I said I'd come back to it, but I never did, or the book you never read, or the trip you never took. What is one small action that you could do today? And that could just be writing down that this is something you can do because you can do it, and then going and doing that thing. And don't make it so big that it's overwhelming, just enough. Maybe it's just getting the book out and dusting it off, or opening the piano, or replying to one of the emails that you have been ignoring in your inbox. Maybe it's just making one phone call and saying hello. But something that you can do that will give your nervous system and your body the visible proof that that unfamiliar thing that you've been putting off isn't going to kill you. And in fact, you may be surprised that just reaching out and touching that thing or that person gives you so much joy that it starts to reconnect you with the part of you that doesn't know how to feel joy, or feel play, or feel generosity, and that person you've been thinking about is so happy to hear from you. Have you all got your thing, your one thing? One tiny thing. I think of it like investing, or investing's a good one. You know, it's just like you may not have 20,000 pounds to put in an ISA account tomorrow for your, you know, for your future. But stacking, compounding over time is what gives you big results. But we have to start somewhere. So it's the same with your nervous system. If you can give it the proof that this little shiny penny, if I put one penny on the pile and another one tomorrow, by the end of the month, I'll have 35 pennies there. It's like I can see it. I have the visible proof that my willingness to do that every day gets me a huge pile. And there should be relief in that, because the body goes, wow, that's so brilliant. And you did it. So this is really just about stacking one experience, one small visible experience that your body gets to move through every single day, that's going to get you to the place where you want to go. You know, this is the thing with confidence too. It's just like a lot of women have say, oh, I just want more confidence. Well, you only get confident by doing the thing, don't you? So the more you do something, the more you have the visible proof. It's like, holy crap, I'm pretty good at this now. That's confidence, right? It's trusting yourself that you can do anything you put your mind to. And that's really what we want, is to start compounding the visible proof for our pattern to relax, so that it can just be okay. Because you got her. And she's like, well, I don't really trust you yet. I don't know. You did that thing in the past, and oh, I remember when. Oh, yeah, you know. And sometimes some of us have to put our hand on the hot plate more than once to know that it's going to burn us. And that's okay too. But it's not from a place of judgment. It's just like, I'm going to do this thing from a place of, this is one big messy experiment, and I get to play in my own sandbox with other people. Nothing to prove, nothing to hide, nothing to do, just play. Treat everything you do as one big experiment. Because up until now is also another lovely verbal resonance that I like to use whenever I catch myself going into, yes, but da 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 da. I go, huh, that's really interesting. Yes, up until now, I did do that thing. Recognize the pattern, name the pattern, really call it out loud. This is your homework, for your play work for now until it's not fun anymore. But to really name the pattern when it comes up and go, huh, interesting. Up until now, yes, the voice in your head that's telling you all the reasons and justifications why you can't do something. And the truth is, today, I've just done one thing to give you the visible proof, your body, the visible proof that that's not true anymore. So when she shows up, that's what you're going to do, is those 4 things. It's going to notice what's actually happening in your body when that old prediction, what she starts saying is happening, because it's not what's really happening, right? So it's what she thinks is happening, the pattern thinks is happening, your nervous system thinks it's happening. It's not what's happening. And then what the behavior is. So what that automatic action would be, and then pushing pause on the world, taking a breath, interrupt the pattern. However you need to, orient yourself to the room like we did yesterday, maybe tense and lean into it. Use your tools. You've got a beautiful toolbox, I'm sure. But start using these tools to look at, okay, this is how I would respond when I'm coming from a place of, if I don't do this, something bad's going to happen. Bring yourself back to base. I'm safe. That could be just through a breath or an exhale. And slowing everything down is how we don't make the things we fear happen by making decisions when we're afraid. And that's 99% of the time. If I look back on all the times in my life where I have acted impulsively, recklessly, it's been because I feel like if I don't decide now, something terrible is going to happen. And of course, that becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? Because we're not acting in our right mind and body. We're acting from a mind that's running an alarm bell to say, run, 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 or fight. So slowing down is the best thing that we can actually give to our bodies when we're in a state of that hypervigilance. And then asking, taking a breath and going, okay, I hear you. What do you need? And asking your body, what do you need right now? That will make you feel that this is not true. You don't have to respond in that automatic way that's become so ingrained in you that you don't even know you're doing it anymore. So you have to slow down in order to speed up. And also remembering that we're not trying to switch off. We're breaking the circuit, but the circuit's still there, right? It's just like, that's the pattern break. It's like a circuit breaker in an electric box. It's still there. We're just allowing the energy flowing through it to be nice and baseline. So that's your homework, your playwork for today, is to just name the pattern and notice the feeling and just deepen into the work and see what comes up for you when you bring that to mind. Feel it in your body. And also choosing one decision so that you don't keep circling this thing. So bringing to mind something that's not life-threatening, and then taking one step, doing one holy little shift to give your body that visible proof. Good? Okay. So we're at the top of the hour, and I want to just take you through a short, I don't even want to call it a visualization, but let's leave it like that. I want you to feel this in your body if you're all up to it. So that you can actually start to notice the speed of the thoughts and what your body wants to do with it. Noticing where it is in your body, whether you start dissociating or stepping away from yourself, but just to let your body show you how she's moving through the behavior. Okay. So I want you to let your body do a very mild version of this. So 10, 20%, no more. And if your system starts pushing, feel it, feel the lean, the grip, the hurry, the drifting off. Just feel it in your body and notice it. And now I want you to just hold it for about 10 seconds. So very much like what we did with the body, feeling the tension and then actually making yourself more tense before you let it release, and giving your body somewhere to move. So just enough to watch what your body and the pattern does with that. So nothing that hurts and nothing that strains, but just to let it go and come back. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions, and I want you to just notice where you feel it. You don't need to answer them out loud. You don't even need words, right? We just want to let that come up and then drop each one like a stone into the water and let whatever rises rise. And if nothing rises, that also counts. And I don't know is also information. Numb is information. And just keep every question connected to this one current ordinary situation. So have you all got a situation or a story in your heads? And remember, we're just listening to the pattern and what its job is. We're not going into the history of it. And I want you to ask the pattern, what am I believing about this current situation? What am I believing about this situation? And just notice. And if nothing comes, just be patient with her. And I'll ask her, what am I afraid might happen? What am I afraid might happen here? And I'll ask her, what are you trying to prevent from happening? What are you trying to protect me from? And ask the pattern, what does she need from you? Just ask her, what do you need from me right now? And you can just thank her. If she has more to say to you, just tell her you're not going anywhere. She can talk to you at any time. And that you would like her to talk to you before she takes control of the situation, that you have a conversation. And I want you to just come all the way back into your body. Thank her for showing up. And just feel your feet on the floor, your bum in the seat. You can just open your eyes and take a look around. Oh, nice release. And that's your evidence from today, that you can feel a behavior and you can begin to understand what a brilliant job the pattern has done underneath it. And that's not a small thing. Yesterday, some of those patterns were invisible to you. And today, you've given her a job description. You've acknowledged that she's done a really good job and that she doesn't have to do that anymore. And if you're willing to share or you'd like to write that in the chat, I want you to just write down one word, the first word that you noticed after doing that exercise, after feeling that. And I remember, I don't know also counts. Oh, I love that. Thank you. Oh, peace. Beautiful. Love that, Idola. Yeah, that head tripper. She's crazy. Crazy making. Oh, beautiful. All right. So you might want to stretch your body and move around a little bit. And tonight you may feel a little tender. You know, something moved today. You may feel lighter or tired or nothing at all, and it all counts. Nothing's wrong. And one sighting of your pattern or her not being there is also a great sighting, Tash. So beautiful that she didn't show up. So you know what you're going to play with. But before we meet tomorrow is just catch that one moment and name the three things: the behavior, the prediction, and what she needs. And don't fix anything, just acknowledge it and hear it. And if you feel called, you could leave one sentence or one word in our Facebook group. And that's it. No heavy homework for the pusher tonight. You can stand down. No, nothing to do. And tomorrow, I'm excited about tomorrow. It's probably the most favorite part of my work and what brings all of this together. And that's the coherence method of bringing your head, your heart, and your hara, your gut, into the same room, and really listening to what each of these energy centers has been carrying. And then you run one real decision through all three of those. So I hope you join me for that. And if something moved you today or you have a question, please unmute yourself or you can put in the chat. And just remember, there's nothing to fix. We're just all seeing each other and co-regulating in a really safe and loving space. So I really honor you and thank you for staying with me, with your patterns tonight, and for showing up. It means a lot. Nobody? You're all good? You feel complete?
Thank you so much.
My
Absolutely
absolute pleasure.
amazing.
Good. I'm so glad that you found it useful. And yeah, just remember that if anything comes up or you feel like you need some extra support, I'm always available in the Facebook group, and you can private message me there if you'd rather do that. But I'm here to support you through this, and this is really brave work. You know, it's just so liberating, isn't it, to actually realize that we don't have to keep fighting and pushing like this anymore, or proving or performing. We can just show up and be ourselves, and it's enough. So thank you all. I send you so much love, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a
Bless
lovely evening.
you too. Bye bye.